Hola, chicos y chicas. Welcome to AstroLunaChick's Guide to the Universe. I am Susan, aka AstroLunaChick, and I'm here to ask the eternal question. What the hell is going on in the heavens? And what is up your anus? It's a beautiful day. I hope you're doing well. Today is Monday, January 8th. And as you know, I'm normally here on Sundays. Uh, but I was feeling lazy yesterday and I just wanted to, do laundry and make chicken soup and clean the house. Yeah, that's the Capricorn version of lazy. Lazy that I wasn't doing my show. But if I'm not doing my show, you better believe I'm not laying around eating bonbons. I'm gonna get shit done. And I did, and it felt good. What I wanted to do, so I did it. Anyway, so here we are, done with the first week of January 2024. How crazy is that about those aliens in Miami? Were they aliens? Were they demons? Were they predators? Inquiring minds want to know. And I'm going to link a book in the description box because I have been meaning to dig something up. I knew that Carl Jung wrote about, UFO and extraterrestrial visitation phenomena. And that has always fascinated me. I bookmarked it in my brain and said, hey, go back and find that, see where that book is. And lo and behold, it is free on archive.org. Free to read. Yes, it is. And I will link it for you in the description box here on this video. But I read a little intro to it and it's very fascinating. So basically the book that he wrote, and again, you can search it on archive.org, but I will link it in the description. So it's called Flying Saucers, a Modern Myth of Things Seen in the Sky. Super cool. And so basically, what he covers in this book is he approaches UFOs as a manifestation of the collective unconscious, and how the phenomena reflects our psychological needs, our hopes and fears, as individuals and as a society. So it's what it reflects about us collectively and individually, more so than the actual phenomena. Is it real? Is it not real? Um, because he's looking at it from more of a psychological and sociological perspective, which is what's going on with people during certain time periods where there is a lot of phenomena. And then how do people make sense of it? How do they respond to it? So it gets into the archetypal symbols and myths, found in cultures around the world, basically. Um, Looking at the beliefs, how it's covered in the media, what people imagine about it and speculate. And so he looks at it from a symbolic perspective of as the desire for transcendence and seeking contact and experience with the quote other meaning other than physical, the other, what exists on the other side. Um, and that can apply to to loved ones that have passed over, or not even loved ones, but just having experiences, paranormal, and the like. And usually, if you've experienced these things, that you know that it tends to be at a very pivotal time in our life. So whatever it is, we could be going through some very difficult times, traumatic experiences, possibly, and it's maybe the fact that we're going through those things can be the cause or the effect of our paranormal type experiences. I could say this with 100% certainty and agreement with that, knowing all of the crazy, intense things and phenomena that I experienced was during a time in my life where my whole belief structures and my whole life were literally changing. So it's a very interesting book. I intend to read it. I've always been wanting to look this up too. I understood basically what his perspective was, but it was something that I wanted to research more about, and I'm going to share it with you. And that's free to read. It's 147 pages. I mean, probably blow through that in 24 hours straight reading. I remember how I used to read like a huge thick book in a whole weekend. I used to do that. I want to get back to that. I love books. I love the physical books, paper, that kind of thing. But anyway, thought that was interesting, and I'd bring that up in light of the goings on. I won't cover that too much. There's a ton of it. Like, go on my Twitter feed. I posted some of the most interesting video commentary that I could find regarding that subject. And if you follow me on Twitter, you will find it there. Anyway, so onward, next subject. Where are we at today? Whale. The moon it's a waning moon. It's January 8th, which means it's the 8th day, consolidated for our numerology enthusiasts. We have a Sagittarius moon conjunct Venus. Not too bad. It's pretty uplifting, positive Sagittarius moon. And Sagittarius loves to learn. So here we are learning about new things. We'll learn about some asteroids today. I've picked a few and I'm going to throw them in there as we go along with the aspects for the week. And we're looking at the 8th through the 14th. So Monday the 8th through Sunday the 14th. Let me just write this down. There we go. Okay, so we're in a waning moon, which means that it is the countdown to the new moon, which will happen on the 11th, by the way. And we've got Mars making a sextile to Saturn today. That's pretty motivating and grounding. I would say that it's probably a good day to act on some strategic plans to define your goals and your boundaries. There could also be a hint of pursuit of accountability. I would probably classify this as not a pitchfork wielding sort of a energy, but a desire to get down to business and take responsibility or hold people accountable. So that would have to do with figures who are in authority in government, perhaps. And overall, we're thinking about our laws, our legal system, and justice, because Mars is moving towards making a trine to Jupiter in Taurus. It's not there yet, but we will be thinking about that probably by the 10th. That will be a big deal because then the moon will be in Capricorn, conjunct Mars, and then they will be trining to Jupiter. But there is a big focus also with international politics because it is Jupiter, it is the ruler of Sagittarius where the moon is today and tomorrow. So we are focusing on, global politics and travel. There's been a few things about airplanes in the news. So I think that will be still a focus. I think we have another storm brewing because Mercury is making a square to Neptune, and we've had issues with Mercury squaring Neptune and Mars squaring Neptune. We've had some big storms. Travel has been difficult, especially while Mercury was retrograde, but it's still in its shadow and the influence is still here. So definitely keep that in mind as far as the Mercury retrograde influence goes. Mercury square to Neptune, it can be highly idealistic and very spiritual, especially with Mercury in Sagittarius at the galactic center. We're seeking truth. And Mercury's done this is the third pass right now. So hopefully the third time's the charm. Ask 3 times, knock 3 times. And the 3 passes of Mercury squaring Neptune have brought up a lot of crazy stuff in terms of things we didn't know, lies coming out, people's illusions and delusions being highlighted, all of the crazy conspiracy theory, but there's events that are evoking this sort of reaction from people questioning religion. Definitely, religion is in the spotlight, politics, especially, things that affect the whole world, because Sagittarius's reach is far and wide. So a lot of interesting things going on, a lot of focus on journalism and the press. That's also a very Sagittarian theme. So we can expect feet to be held to the fire. We've also got the list, which isn't really the list. It's the release of the transcript, basically, of the case between Ghislaine, and Virginia Giuffre. And, this happened years ago, a few years ago, and the judge has just unsealed it. So there are names there. There are redacted names there. There are names that are very well known, obviously, and some are guilty and some are not. Some are surprised and some are not. So this is all a function of what's been going on when every time like Mercury and Mars have squared to Neptune in Pisces at 25 to 26 degrees of Pisces is unraveling all of the things that have been hidden, all the secrets. And we've got asteroid Pandora there. We've got Orcus, which is, the agreed upon lies. a few other, Clotho is one of the fates. So every time we have aspects to Neptune in Pisces, we get another layer of the truth, just like when we had oppositions during the fall, transits through Virgo, the end of Virgo, these things would come up, a lot of scandals, a lot of it sexual. So interesting that the transits through the end of Sagittarius, this is the last hit of Mercury, and these degrees, especially 25 through the end of Sagittarius, represent, first of all, they are in the stinger of the Scorpion, which is very difficult. So also the star Edaman at 28 degrees of Sagittarius is in Draco. And Draco is also a very difficult constellation, and Edaman is a difficult star. So when Mars was there, we had the whole TD Jakes thing. Now Mercury is approaching there. So Mercury's still going through the Scorpion stinger, and these degrees are known for poison, literal and figurative poison. And Scorpio is known as the bringer or the ruler of weapons of war. So it is associated, both Scorpio and Draco. We're talking about the constellations and the specific stars. These are at the end of Sagittarius. These are known for death by poison and, violent acts. And so Mars going through here was very interesting, especially with Mercury retrograde, because it brought up a lot of deaths from the past. Very, very interesting. So we will have Venus in about a week or so going through that portion of the sky. So that will be interesting. And anyway, Edaman is known for like disgrace, falls from grace. And speaking of which, another interesting aspect that we have going on. Now I said Mars was sextile to, it's trine to Jupiter. So we're talking about, let's say, beliefs, ideologies, worldwide influence, legal stuff, and we've got Mars sextile to Saturn, and Saturn is the judge. It's karma. It is calling for a reckoning. Mars sextile to Saturn from Capricorn is pursuing and holding people's feet to the fire. And it is dealing with Capricorn type energy, which will look to the people in charge and in the public eye for applying justice or their lack thereof. So this will be very interesting as Mars moves forward, because Mars will conjunct Ixion. And I've talked about Ixion before, so we'll talk a little bit about the mythology regarding Ixion. You could see him on the screen there, his naked ass falling. So that is actually a beautiful rendition, and the artist is Hendrik Goltzius, and he did a series of 4 called The Four Disgracers, and it includes this one, Ixion. and then also Icarus, Phaethon, and Tantalus. So basically, the stories of these mythologies, it deals with the concept of trying to enter into the realm of the gods, trying to, you know, gain favor when you don't deserve it, or trying to get a little power for yourself. And it deals with punishment for hubris. So with Ixion, he he tried to seduce Hera, Zeus's wife. And so his story is one of, you're invited into someone's house, or basically you're given some privilege and you don't appreciate it and you insult your host, and yeah, just being a dick. It's just being a dick. So it does deal with adultery, seducing other people's spouses, and taking what's not yours, So if someone of power takes you into their circle, into their confidence, and you disrespect and disregard them and try to take what is theirs, what does not belong to you, it is about the punishment and stuff like that. But the other side of the Ixion myth in regard to how we look at this asteroid is one of being given a second chance, or being able to learn from your mistakes. Now, Ixion was sentenced to be tortured on the wheel of Tartarus for all eternity. So this also represents the wheel of reincarnation, in a sense. But I guess the second chance, we could look at it as, coming back for a second chance, and the things that we could encounter from lifetime to lifetime, and trying to do it better again, or not even lifetime to lifetime. We have our own karmic patterns, and we should hopefully get to a point where we recognize those things, and hopefully we could do it better, learn our lessons, and when it comes around again, know that you're getting a second chance and do it better. Straighten up and fly right. All right, so here's the chart, because I am finally getting around to sharing my screen. I just wanted you to look at Ixion's ass for a little bit. I love art, like old esoteric sort of artwork. It's very beautiful, symbiologically. That's not a word. Just go with it. Anyway, so what do we have here? We have the moon, which is our mood, our collective mood, conjunct Venus, focusing on emotions and relationships, perhaps finance too, because the sign that rules Sagittarius is Jupiter. Jupiter is in what we call mutual reception with Venus. So Venus is in the sign that Jupiter rules. Jupiter is in the sign that Venus rules, because Venus rules Taurus. So an interesting configuration, since it's not exact, it's a little bit off degree, but the moon would have made an inconjunct to Jupiter. And a few days ago, maybe almost a week ago, Venus would have made an inconjunct here to Jupiter. And that's an uncomfortable aspect, something that we won't see coming or need to make an adjustment for. And could it be in terms of international finance and banking? I think so. That's not something that a lot of us are tuned into, but there is something going on with the world banking system. So if you're interested in that, go look it up. I would say there's something about laws coming, changes to our legal system. Congress is voting on some spending bills. I think they passed, the general budget, whatever it is, but now they don't include, I think part of the deal was they weren't going to include the individual bills that every, special interest wanted passed or whatever. I'm like kind of burnt out on politics by now. Ugh, so much going on. But it is an adjustment to our belief systems, right? I mean, let's talk for a second about Miami. Venus was square to Saturn in Sagittarius. That's interesting. Coming up some sort of up against a roadblock in our reality, trying to define something which we just don't really know. Mercury squaring to Neptune. I mean, my whole take on that really astrologically is we don't really know. There's a lot of speculation, but we don't really know. But people are investigating, and I wonder if when Venus squares to Neptune in about a week, we might get more information. Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is film, and Saturn is restriction of, and Venus in Sag is maybe trying to look at our relationship to this thing. And Jupiter, Venus in conjunct Jupiter, I think that's confiscation of physical evidence. That's just my brief take. Anyway, I might do a separate video on that. Maybe I won't. Maybe I shouldn't say that I'm going to, and then I don't. Okay, so Venus, as of today, and the moon, that's conjunct Antares. Antares is a warlike star in the constellation of Scorpio. It is the heart of the scorpion. I just know Antares is ready for a fight. And then we're talking also about two other stars at that around that degree. Kuma, which is in Draco, and Alwade, which is also in Draco. And the constellation of Draco in Kabbalistic symbolism is symbolized by the death card in Tarot, number 13. Now, Alwade is interesting. It's a pretty powerful star. So we're talking about the moon and Venus there today. It is associated with loss of property, criminality, accidents, violence. And the moon, specifically conjunct Alwade, is associated with blindness, wounds, stabs, blows, and surgery. Very interesting. There's also something that I thought was interesting to note that Mars is still out of bounds. Now it is in Capricorn, but Mars out of bounds. Mars, one of the things that Mars rules is blood. And I've been seeing a lot about blood. I mean, people posting things about blood scientifically. Somebody else posted a video about like the occult significance of blood. That was CG Jung. And so I just see it coming up like in things that I just come across, like that people are talking about. People are talking about blood, the blood supply. Even Cliff High was talking about something about the equipment used either for like taking blood or storing blood or something about that there's more of that equipment being made than actually that we know of in use. That sounds super sus, right? Anyway, yeah, so Monday, anything else? Another thing I wanted to say, because Jupiter is being aspected, so it is in play and it's still coming up. Jupiter is conjunct Alphirc, which is a star in the constellation of Cephas, King Cephas, who was the father of Andromeda and the husband of Cassiopeia. So this particular star has to do with actors, comedians, and stage play, but we know will include, film and actors. And the thing came up with, what do you call it? Cat Williams was a huge thing. Steve Harvey. This made me think of Steve Harvey. That so the star Cephas, Alphirc. Okay, the constellation is associated with actors and comedians, and also people know like the sort of stern uncle archetype. And I think actually something that I was listening, I think that somebody referred to Steve Harvey as being like that kind of a type of a demeanor, stern uncle, sort of a Saturnian figure, but like somebody who looks at themselves as sort of guiding younger people, taking them under their wing, whatever. So I thought that was very interesting because Jupiter just went direct on like New Year's Eve. It's aspecting Saturn, which is the judge. Mars will be aspecting Jupiter. Jupiterian figures are, when we say Jupiterian, we mean beneficial, benefactors. Saturn and Jupiter are considered two of the father archetypes, and Jupiter is like the nice dad that gives you all kinds of cool stuff, and Saturn is the disciplinarian that makes you work for it at the taskmaster. So I think this is interesting. We'll see what happens as Mars makes that trine to Jupiter moving forward into Capricorn. I just think it is about holding people accountable. And the last full moon, actually all the full moons are occurring around 5 or 6 degrees of the sign. So last month it was a full moon in Cancer. And, nothing that Cat Williams said in this particular interview has not been said before, first of all, but maybe not in specifically towards those people, in terms of stealing material and all that kind of thing, professionally. But around the full moon, there was a huge like can of worms. Anyway, and the next full moon in Leo is going to square Jupiter. So I think there's going to be more having to do with actors and comedians, specifically comedians, and those who play the role of the stern uncle. I would put Diddy in that category. All right, so let's move on to the 9th. So we have the moon and newly direct Mercury squaring to Neptune. It's going to rain where I am. I know there's going to be storms other places. This is a storm aspect for sure. Emotional, mental, Mercury square to Neptune, more revealings about crazy stuff. I'm sure of it. Fauci is supposed to testify this week, excuse me, and as Mars moves further into Capricorn, it's gonna not that far, like maybe one more degree. I think Fauci's sun is at 4 degrees of Capricorn, and that will conjunct asteroid Ixion and Psyche. So Psyche, if you recall from my previous shows, maybe about 2 weeks back during the Mercury retrograde, Mercury conjuncted Psyche in Sagittarius. Psyche is now in Capricorn. So we were dealing with the Mercury retrograde and Psyche. I think it was, breaking the bubble of delusion, breaking through to the truth with Mercury and Psyche in Sagittarius, also breaking the religion bubble, this sort of idealization of religious leaders, and a lot of stuff going on with journalism and the press. And traditionally, I would say that Sagittarius is the sign connected to journalism, but nowadays it is also Pisces because it is more, glamour and illusion, and it's more Hollywood. So I think we're getting a big dose of reality perhaps on the 9th, and this is the 9-day, and it is a peak, so to speak, because this is the second pass of Mercury at the galactic center. So, I really think that there would be some kind of crazy thing coming out and being revealed. First with Mercury being the news of it, and then the moon passing over the more difficult stars at the end of Sagittarius that I had talked about before in Scorpio, Stinger of Scorpio, and Draco. I don't know, maybe they'll bring out the whole like asteroid hitting the Earth meme again, because as you guys know, the constellation of Draco is known by the ancients for being where a comet passed through this constellation, this point in the sky. A comet that was known for scattering poison over the Earth. So Is the poison literal or figurative this time? Or, are they just LARPing us again? What else do we have going on? Mars is still sextiling Saturn. That's going to be really all week. And it's a good aspect if you really want to define your reality, want to hold people accountable, or if you want to come clean about something and take responsibility. It will definitely help you in the financial or your values or your stability, and your Taurus house with Jupiter there. Luck is on the side of those who have clear-cut goals, well-defined boundaries, who have passed the spiritual tests, who have integrity, who are willing to work hard. I think that is where we want to be in life. And we're preparing for a big shift, a big change. Wherever it is in your life, we are turning a corner this week. So something ends on the on the 9th. Sorry. Let's talk about some of the other asteroids that we have and stars. So the moon in Sagittarius is going to oppose Askelaphus and Asbolus, two asteroids I've talked about before, in Gemini, retrograde. They are retrograde. Askelaphus is the snitch and the whistleblower. Asbolus is the seer. And I've been watching these guys for a while. So you can relate Asbolus to the quote seers, modern day seers and oracles. There is something about Asbolus that I've found that has a little bit of a paranoia flavor to it. Like, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching you. I've seen a little bit of this with the feeling of whether it's true or not. And that's the thing. With this configuration, with Mercury square to Neptune, Mercury is opposing and will in the next few days, but the moon's going to do it first. First, it's the feeling of being watched. And then it's Mercury, the eyes are on you, or you hear something that confirms it. There's a lot of paranoid people out there right now. The other thing with the list is that, like I said, there's people on it who are guilty and there's other people who are just peripheral, but they are being targeted as guilty by association. And the 8th and the 9th, well, that's today and tomorrow, but especially tomorrow and into Wednesday, the sun is making a trine to two asteroids I've been watching for a while in Virgo. And they were very instrumental in the fall when I started watching Diddy and talking about Rico stuff. So Orcus and Aphidas. Orcus and Aphidas. Orcus is the oh crap. My phone is ringing. Orcus is the underworld judge, and he punishes oath breakers. Okay, so it's about the breaking of oaths, being, and judgment and punishment. And Aphidas is about criminal organizations guilty by association, which makes us look at Rico. And so I think what's going to start happening with the new moon, but we'll maybe get a inkling of it before the new moon, because the sun is making that aspect to those asteroids in Virgo that I just talked about. That's going to be a factor, because you might not have been involved in the criminal activity, but if people around you are involved, you're going to be considered possibly guilty by association or under investigation and being questioned for sure. Because even though, these things are known, but if the judge unseals it, then it's out there and people are going to demand that somebody follow through on this, because so many people know about this now. They can't hide it. It's out there. All right. So that's going to be a lot of what might be going on. International figures, obviously, we know about Prince Andrew, and so we'll see what happens. We may be getting some kind of news, but again, I think there's a story and people run with it, and then the speculations become part of the narrative. So I wouldn't believe everything that you hear necessarily on the 9th, just because of these aspects here. And there's definitely sort of a lynch mob mentality, because Neptune, where it's placed right now in Pisces, is conjunct 3 stars in the constellation of Pegasus. Now, Pegasus, one of the themes is flying over all obstacles unscathed, or just being able to soar above your circumstances. Like, that's a good use of that energy, and we do see that. But the other thing about Pegasus, the constellation, which is the 3 stars that I'm talking about, are Saddlebari, Matar, and Markab. And those are all in the constellation Pegasus, and they are all around 24, 25 degrees of Pisces. So, one of the ideas regarding Pegasus is the idea of being taken down a notch or a peg. So people like to take people down off their high horse. So there will be a rush to destroy people and their reputations. And it will happen. And it will be, you can sue, I guess, but it's already out there and people have an opinion based on the things that are said. This is Mercury square to Neptune, and Neptune being conjunct these stars in Pegasus. And over the next couple of days, Mercury will hit some very difficult stars at the end of Sagittarius, which are known for disgrace falls from grace, just like our lovely Ixion here. So we're dealing with the theme of Ixion, and I did look to see the other 4 disgracers to see where they are. We have Icarus being triggered on Friday. He's in Aquarius. The moon will be in Aquarius. We have Ixion in Capricorn, like I mentioned, that's being provoked by Mars. Like Mars is angry and he's going after Ixion. We have the new moon conjunct Phaethon. Phaethon, who drove chariot to, wait a minute. He was being reckless with the chariot and Zeus shot him down with a lightning bolt. Look for things around lightning, especially with this storm activity going on. Phaethon, okay, the new moon is not conjunct Phaethon. I'm sorry. The new moon is sextile to Phaethon. Phaethon is at 21, 22 degrees of Pisces. So it will be part of the narrative and a factor, but nope, that's Thursday. I'll get to that. We're still on Tuesday. Jeez. Anyway, the moon today, not today, tomorrow, is conjunct. Oh, wait, let's go back to Pegasus. So the star Markab is probably one of the more powerful stars in the constellation, and it is known for mental disturbances, secret enemies, accidents, emotional upheavals, and love disappointments, violent death of young, like dying young and violently. So see what happens on Tuesday. Mercury square to Neptune, Mercury moon. I mean, what's going on right now, whatever it is, can drive some people over the edge. It can definitely drive people over the edge, thinking that, first of all, their name is coming out in a negative way. They're being publicly disgraced. There are legal issues involved and potential loss of freedom. That's Saturn in Pisces and Mars sextiling and Jupiter trining it. So what do people do when they're backed in a corner? All right. The moon will also conjunct Apophis at 17 degrees Sagittarius, asteroid Child at 19, Ceres also at 19. So that's mother and child energy. Interesting. Those two asteroids, so the moon will conjunct them. And that's really the 8th into the 9th. Before the Mercury square to Neptune. So overnight or early in the morning, moon conjunct Ceres and child, that's mother and child, in conjunct to Uranus. That's shocking, unusual. Line-sided. Could be, social media, internet related. Well, Sagittarius themes, foreign, immigration, mother and child. Mother, child, and Apophis. Apophis is the destroyer. I don't like this. So Apophis will conjunct child and Ceres. It's gaining on them. So it could be something that comes up around a mother and a child. Apophis is destroyer. This is why I think maybe there's something about the asteroid meme coming out. Asteroids are gonna hit the Earth, and they roll that out like once a year. Okay, you guys tell me. I don't know, but there is something on Tuesday with the moon, Apophis, child Ceres, that is also squaring to Juno in Virgo. Juno is the wife. And Juno, okay. So Juno and Aphidas and Orcus are all here in Virgo, 2 degrees off. So the moon, Ceres, child, mother and child, and wife energy. So, it could be the same person, right? But here she's the wife and she's connected to the criminal organizations, right? And Orcus, the judge of the oath breakers. So, she's torn because either she could be breaking her oath to her husband, right? She could be breaking the oath to, or there's oaths involved with the networks of who you're guilty by association with, right? Something having to do with that. And then you've got her role as a mother with her child and legal issues, maybe protection for leaving or for testifying. I can't wait to find out what's going on with that. Wow. Huh. It's interesting because asteroid Hera, is in Aquarius. Hera in Aquarius is, oh, that's interesting. What day is that? Yeah. Hera was in conjunct to Juno a few weeks ago, I think, but now she's at the end of Aquarius. Seems like because Hera and Juno are the same. One is Roman, one is Greek. It all represents the wife. So here we have the wife in sort of lowly, humble Virgo, service oriented, like I'm here to serve my husband and I have a commitment to the organization, whatever. And then we got Hera, who's an Aquarius. She's breaking free. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. It's not really playing into today. But anyway, let's go back to our chart. Where's my screen? There we go. All right, so January 9th. That's Tuesday. So Wednesday the 10th, that's our one day. We've got the moon. The moon will be conjunct to Mars, feeling a sense of responsibility to take action, to do the right thing, to be accountable, to hold others accountable. This is the 10th. I think that's when Fauci is testifying. Now, we talked about Mars and Ixion. Maybe the thing is, Fauci, you're getting a second chance. We know you lied before, straight-faced, while we cried. Here you are. You have an opportunity to come clean. Tell us the truth. Here's your second chance, Ixion. We'll see what he does. Anyway, now one thing I didn't get to mention before about what happened on January 1st in Miami, Saturn is conjunct an asteroid called Bandersnatch. And Bandersnatch, I think I'm going to have to go into this in another video. Bandersnatch is kind of like a boogeyman. The Bandersnatch, it's from Lewis Carroll, and it's in a few of his books, but specifically in a poem called The Jabberwocky. And if you guys have been listening to me for a while, you know that I refer to a certain thing that people are forced to get through Ixion. I call it Jabberwocky. So the Jabberwocky is a character in Lewis Carroll's, Bandersnatch is a character in the Jabberwocky poem. So it represents something that is from the other side. It's literally a creature that exists, quote, through the looking glass. All right, so you know that he wrote Alice in Wonderland. So what is it going through the looking glass? What is project looking? Was there a project looking glass? You know what I'm getting at, right? And the Jabberwocky or the Bandersnatch, as I found a depiction of it, looked a little kind of like those things in the mall. Very interesting. So there is an asteroid Bandersnatch. And so Saturn in Pisces is materializing or crystallizing things from the collective unconscious, which is Pisces. And Mars is aggression, war, a threat. Whether or not whatever happened was real or not real, holographic, if it was the veil being lifted, so things were bleeding into our reality, I don't know. But the people in our government don't know either. Don't you think that they're shitting their pants? I don't know. Just a thought. So I don't know. See what comes out. Maybe there's more interesting information that comes out about the Malians. I'm calling them the Malians, the Malians. So Bandersnatch is an interesting asteroid to watch, and it's conjunct Saturn and Moon. Moon will be sextile. That's why I'm mentioning it. It is the waning moon. There is information to be disseminated, and we are coming up on the sun squaring the nodes of fate. That's a big deal when we have planets bending the nodes. It's called the bending of the nodes. Who is calling me? Go away. All right, so the sun will square the nodes. That's at the new moon. This means new moon, yes, but it is in between the eclipses. We're 3 months away from the last eclipse. It's like the next act, right? The eclipse is the beginning of the show. We're like at the peak of the movie where there's a big reveal of what it's all going to be about, or, what the plot, the plot thickens for sure. But with this new moon, this should be very, very interesting. Now, that will happen on the 11th. So on the 10th, it's Moon, Mars, Ixion, Psyche, all right? So a lot to do with karma and the psyche and things that you know you've done that you shouldn't have done, that were not right, that you are facing punishment for, or someone is. Maybe getting a second chance and understanding when you've been given that gift to do it better this time. The stars that are involved with that are in the constellation of Sagittarius, but the part of it that is the archer's bow. And interestingly, one of those stars is associated with the goddess Ishtar. Ishtar. I think we're really going to start talking about maybe from the Sumerian Babylonian perspective, because Ishtar is the Babylonian goddess, but she is the Babylonian version of the Sumerian Inanna. So, that's kind of interesting, actually. So this is 4, 5, 6 degrees of Capricorn. The stars are in the constellation of Sagittarius. Sorry, I hope that's not confusing. One of those stars, I think it's Caus Australis, that is associated with Ishtar. And these stars, the energy of the stars are known as being strong, representing ideals and justice, very enterprising, flexible, thought-provoking. I think it's something that is going to force us to reason rather than blindly accept things. And maybe it has to do with Bandersnatch and what I was talking about in the beginning of the show about Carl Jung and the collective unconscious and how the UFO alien phenomena plays into that. So I think that's where the conversation is going. There will be something about that on Wednesday. And then on Tuesday, the 11th, we have the moon is squaring the nodes in Aries and Libra. So it's about the individual and the other, the individual facing the other. It's also about individual rights and the considering of the individual person, and then the concept of law and justice and having to consider other people. Like what is inalienable, inalienable rights, and who has them? And do they only exist for humans? And what is human? Well, the sun and the moon meet at 20 to 21 degrees Capricorn, and they are conjunct the asteroid Orcus or Arakoth. Now, Arakoth is a Powhatan sky god, but this asteroid was only recently renamed, actually, in 2019, in November 2019. So prior to that, it was known as Ultima Thule. I think I like that one better, but not so much. People said, no, that's too associated with a certain group of people that are supremacists, I guess you would call them. Rhymes with Shotzi. So it had Shotzi connotations. And I mean, it was concerning. I mean, it was one of the very, very important concepts of the ancestral homeland by not German occultists. So it's Ultima Thule. That's the original name of Arakoth. Arakoth will be at 22 degrees of Capricorn. So I think this is where the connection and the whole belief systems, and how does that relate to what we think of as extraterrestrials now? Okay, we'll see what goes on with that. But in other news, the sun and the moon will make a trine to Uranus, and Uranus is it's still retrograde. It's at 19 degrees of Taurus. Uranus has been active with every single new moon for months and months and months, because those new moons are occurring around 20 to 21 degrees. And this new moon squares the eclipse, which was at 20 to 21 degrees of Libra. It's like the halfway point between here and Aries season in the spring, when we have more Aries eclipses or more eclipses in Aries and Libra. Those are intense times, but this is also, the square is also an intense time. So that means there are things happening, actions being taken in regard to probably governmental structures. The moon will hit Pluto right away. And this is because we are dismantling our power structures with Pluto and Capricorn. And that means all of the corruption and the evil being exposed. That's Pluto. All the taboo subjects. I think we're really in for it with this. Now, by this time, Mercury will be at that star that I was talking about, Edaman, the last degrees of Sagittarius. That's major, major downfall for certain people. So whatever's been going on in the political sphere, and it could be more to do with religious leaders even, that should be very interesting. Now, Uranus is conjunct an asteroid I've been watching for a while. It just went direct earlier in, well, maybe it was actually in December, but it's asteroid Vibilia, and Vibilia is the Roman goddess of travel. So there is something about travel. And there is something here with Uranus and travel. So it's unexpected. It can be technology, electricity, power. It can be maybe hacking, transportation systems. We'll have to see. But something with travel. So changes regarding travel or the inability to travel. I don't think that this is necessarily regular people. This could be possibly people, public figures, people in authority, in power, maybe we could see people like fleeing the country, or we could see something coming down regarding people and their ability to travel, and it's unusual and it's sudden and it's possibly regressive. I don't know if maybe travel restrictions are going to be a thing, but Uranus is digital, and in Taurus, it's digitizing the physical. So, I mean, it could be something about digital IDs, perhaps. They're going to try. So I just don't see it flying. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But because Uranus is making a trine to the new moon, the new moon triggers Uranus. So this is an energy that's going to last all month. Interesting and unusual things coming out regarding travel. Could be any number of things. Watch when the moon gets into, watch on the 13th. See if you hear anything on the 13th regarding travel, because the moon will square Uranus. The moon will also sextile Venus here with Ceres. Venus and Ceres, remember, mother and child. Mother and child. People can flee the country for different reasons, with their children. Anyway, okay, I don't know. Could be anything. Hitler had a love child. The mother and child are coming out. Okay. Well, that's Thursday the 11th. What else is going on? Well, Mars and Ixion will square asteroid DNA in the coming days. DNA is at 8 to 9 degrees of Libra. That's something that's very interesting. When Uranus goes direct, that's January 27th. Watch when Uranus goes direct, because by that time, Mercury and Mars will be at 18 degrees of Capricorn and making a trine to Uranus, and Vibilia will be maybe about 20 degrees of Taurus by then. And it'll be Mercury and Mars. So communications, movement, action, squaring the nodes. I don't know. Watch what's coming up. We'll have to look into that further. Maybe it will be because there is attacks, fighting. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the general population, because we are dealing with the sign of government and figures, high up. You'll just watch and see what the news is that's coming out, where it seems to be going. We'll have to wait and see how the narrative shapes up. Anyway, on Friday the 12th, moon is in Aquarius. The moon is squaring Jupiter. I would say there's a lot of news. There's a lot about possibly travel, legal and law things, internet buzz. That's always good for Aquarius moon. Moon Jupiter square, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's excessive truth, Jupiter. A lot of truth, perhaps. Remember, we were watching this degree of Jupiter for people in the entertainment industry and comics. So that will maybe be interesting. Mars is definitely making that aspect to Jupiter. So there are people, well, there are people pursuing clout for sure. Like, that guy sucks. I'm better than him. Look how much better I am than him. Mars in Capricorn is very ambitious. So, I mean, for the average person, it's pretty productive. I think that we are chugging away. I think that the new moon gives us some like fresh, like inspiration and desire to break free, and Uranus aspects, and it is a pretty positive, meaning supportive, not good or bad, just supportive aspect to be able to maybe look at new ways of creating stability and abundance and resources. I'd be looking at crypto. They will be looking at crypto. There's laws. They're gonna start this probably some of the things that'll be tossed around are like how they're going out after this or that platform, or some bullshit with the SEC, things to try to rein in crypto, more with CBDCs, probably digital IDs, and maybe UBI. That's a possibility. Maybe UBI. All right. The 12th, that's a 3-day. So watch the 3-day. The moon will be conjunct Icarus. So somebody is flying too close to the sun. A moon square to Jupiter, I would say people are going to be probably pretty vocal on social media about something, someone. So let's see how that shapes up. So on the 13th, Saturday, that's the 4-day, we've got the moon in Aquarius, late Aquarius, not really making many aspects. It's making a sextile and a trine to the nodes. So that's not bad, but the moon in Aquarius is very detached and can be very social. But what I notice, there's a lot that goes on in social media. There's a lot that comes out about maybe surveillance, things having to do with the internet and technology in general, but also I hear a lot about the crosstown trafficking, the crosstown traffic with Aquarius because of the constellation of Aquila, and the constellation of Aquarius has to do, Aquarius is Ganymedes, the most beautiful boy, and Aquila was the talent scout. So, those associations with the astrological sign of Aquarius. Movements of groups of people. Moon square to Uranus. Conjunct Vabilia. Vabilia is the travel goddess. We're talking about travel. We're talking about suddenly, perhaps, networks of groups of, that's Uranus and Aquarius. And the moon in Aquarius is either surprise, surprise, we found the Underground Railroad and networks which are used to transport, or surprise, that's cut off. You can't do that anymore. This also has to do with the immigration. So I think we should be watching for changes in the immigration maybe not the policy, but maybe it's the individual states doing things. Whatever it is, there will be something coming up around the 13th in regard to travel, in regard to the way large groups of people move about. Teleportation, yay! I am here for it. And telepathy. Some of us already have that. Oh, I actually looked up where Telephus was. Let me see if I can find that. It's not in this one. Crap. All right, whatever. So, asteroid Telephus. Oh, I know where it is. I remember now. It's around 20 degrees, I think, of Cancer. It'll be opposing the new moon. Maybe we'll start talking about telepathy more. Or, I mean, I have seen, it's happened. So, like, somebody is thinking about something and then somebody else is talking about it, or you see it, not that you see it come up because that's more of a synchronicity, but I talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago where my friend was doing something, thinking about something, and next thing you know, like she sees it all over the place or somebody else mentions it. It's usually person to person, not necessarily like a external sign or synchronicity. So, that's somewhere around 20 degrees of Cancer, I believe. Or maybe, nope, I have it written down. I do. Where is it? It's at 13 degrees of Capricorn. And it's retrograde. I'm sorry. 13 degrees of Cancer. It's squaring Chiron. Well, it did square Chiron and then it retrograded. Well, I guess Mars won't. Mars will be there. Mars will be heading for Telephus. All right, I just want to check and see where that was. No big deal. So the 13th, we've got the waxing moon. It's still very new. We're probably seeing the crescent. Yeah, we're seeing the crescent on the 13th. And because it makes a square to Uranus, I expect it'll be rebellious, crazy, shocking, weird, amazing, all those things that Aquarius is known for. Rebellious. Well, there is a bit of like isolation and what's the word I'm looking for? Feeling very, what is the word I'm looking for? left out, alienated. Aliens and alienation, which is very interesting because if you, well, if you follow my Twitter feed, I did post this, but on YouTube, Amanda Ellis, she channels Metatron. I'm not here, to be for or against her and her channelings, but I like her approach. I like her work. It was very interesting because she did a reading on the Malians and pulled a card from David Bowie's Starman deck, which is amazing. And I think it's out of print or it's very expensive. But she pulled the Hermit card, which in that deck is the alien. And it shows an alien, right? But it's the description in the book that comes with the deck talked about feeling alienated, like feeling disconnected from other people and knowing that, you're not the only one. A lot of people feel that way. I connect that to Carl Jung's work in regard to UFO and aliens and how he sees it as a manifestation of the collective unconscious. And it is, I think, this idea that we are cosmic orphans, like we don't really know where we came from, and we want to know if there's star family out there. So I'm getting that kind of vibe with the Aquarius moon. And after the new moon, starting with the new moon, really, a lot, sort of a creeping sense of who are we? Where did we come from? And feeling, that's really a feeling of disconnection from spirit, not feeling connected to, our own inner source and God. So maybe people are feeling a little bit disconnected and alienated on the 13th. So what else is going on? That's pretty much it for that day. Oh, no, sorry. The moon will make a sextile to Venus. Really, I think that's a desire to learn and connect with other people and relationships. And Mercury, it will make a sextile to Mercury. And that's it. And that square, and the square to Uranus means we got to make a change, it means we have to make a change, but actually with Uranus, it just happens, I think, because that's like, the lightning bolt. We must change. Okay. Moving right along. The 14th, that will be Sunday, and that's a 5-day. We've got the moon in Pisces with Saturn, and I think we'll be maybe talking more about the Bandersnatch from Lewis Carroll's writings. When I do the Sunday show, probably talk about that then, because asteroid Bandersnatch will be, the moon will hit Bandersnatch and Saturn. So everything I said about that sort of like the boogeyman kind of feeling of like what's behind the looking glass, because that's where the Bandersnatch lives, right? And Saturn is the veil between, the physical world and what lies on the other side in Pisces, right? So we're really trying to define that for ourselves. It'll be interesting to see what the discourse is as the week moves on. So that's Sunday, the 14th. Moon conjunct Saturn. it's kind of a serious mood. I mean, Saturn conjunct to the moon is, I mean, the weight is heavy responsibilities, perhaps, but not bad in terms of getting your emotions in tune in checking yourself in terms of integrity. The sextile to Mars is very productive. Mercury will enter Capricorn. So things become a bit more serious-minded, business-like, communications are more practical than in Sagittarius. It was like almost anything goes in Sagittarius. Now, Mercury's not quite out of its shadow. Mars is actually at the degree that Mercury stationed to go retrograde. So that was December 13th. So in some ways, we are taking action on perhaps things maybe that we wanted to start around that time, but it wasn't quite the right time. We're going to start to move forward on that. It'll take about a week more for Mercury to get past and out of its shadow and then catch up to Mars at the end of the month. Like I was saying, Mars and Mercury will conjunct around 18 degrees of Capricorn. So this is really just kind of getting the ball rolling slowly, maybe, just making our plans and getting our resources together, trying to understand and get a higher perspective and learn everything that we can for the next steps. Checking in with our belief systems. Are they practical? Have they been proven wrong? What is going on? We're probably digesting everything that happened during the week, maybe including the Fauci's testimony. I feel like they're going to come down hard on him, though, because Mars will be on his sun when he starts to testify. I wonder if that will be delayed. I wonder if there could be threats. What if there are threats and that gets delayed until Mercury starts? Because Mars is aggression, attacks, confrontations. I mean, this could be him being very confrontational, feeling attacked, going on the attack, being attacked. It seems to me that by the 18th or so, I would think, 19th, 20th, I would want to see Mercury on his sun for him speaking and probably getting down to the truth, as Mercury on his sun would be sextiling to Saturn. Maybe it's everything that happens here with Mars. And then, like the questioning and then the redirect, I don't know. It's not really like that. It's before Congress. It's not a trial. Anyway, maybe the more interesting information will really come out after the 14th. That's what I'm thinking. So, overall, I mean, it's not bad aspects really for being productive, for making things solid, concrete. Very, very important to stand by your values and stay in integrity. that's going to get you, I believe, to where you want to go with Jupiter in Taurus and building, let's say, in terms of career and achievement with Capricorn, and then having the resources or building the resources or getting, return on your efforts or investment. And because it's the way Capricorn works. Saturn rewards integrity and hard work. It is always hard, but it's really about what you learn in the long run and working out your karma, figuring out what that is, taking a second chance with Ixion and doing it right this time. So, of course, as always, I went longer than I wanted to go, but that's fine. It's all good. I thank you all for being here. And if you've enjoyed the show, please follow and subscribe on the YouTube, on Rumble also, and find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're interested in booking a reading, you can email me at astrolunachick@gmail.com, or you can reach me on the AstroLunaChick hotline at 914-222-1231. And as always, stay cool, be good, and ciao for now.